Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about a different kind of space besides the common things we know. The definition what space means. I gave you a few examples, different kind of spaces and meanings and stuff like that. And I want to explain you another kind of space that occurs when we speak to one another, when people have conversations. That space is a tool, and space occurs when people having a conversation in the language, verbal speaking, when you speak with friends, your families, co-workers, whatever. I want to explain you, I want to show you a different kind of space, a different form of space. And you have to be really careful listening, otherwise you're not aware of it, you don't see it. So I'm explaining it now by an example, and you have to really listen carefully, and I'm trying to speak slow and I try to articulate very good so you see that space and what I mean by that. And what is important is that I show you what that space has an effect on the other person, right? Because when we have in a dialogue, a conversation with another person, and in our unawareness, we create constantly that space. And that space, what I'm explaining you in a minute, is actually, in some cases, a occupation in the other person's mind, right? So let me make an example. It's an invisible space. It's invisible because you cannot see it. So it's while I speak, while I explain, you will see where the space will start and the effect of it. And I will tell you exactly when it occurs and the effect of it. So I start now. I tell a person, we are going to hike, and that's it. I just say that we're going to hike, and that's it. The other person I was saying that, he responded, "Oh yeah, nice. When we are going? When do we go?" I respond to him, and now I created space. Well, I don't know. So the other person who hears that, the information what he has is only that we are going hike. And I gave him a space now in his mind, because I have not set a date and time. That means I said to him only, we are going to hike. And he responded to it, when are we going hike? Next weekend, this weekend, tomorrow, or whatever. He don't know that. So I gave him space in his mind. So now he, in his unawareness, is figuring out about this hiking. He's figuring out when he's gonna tell me when we go on a hike, what date is it when we go on a hike. I hope he's gonna tell me soon when we're gonna hike. So he's occupied in that space I gave him. Because I didn't put no borders. I didn't put no limit. I just told that person we are going to hike. And I didn't give him a date and a time. So the person in his actual response is, okay, when we gonna go hike? And excited and all that, when we gonna hike? And I say, I don't know yet. I will let you know. So these questions, okay, when do you let me know? When we gonna hike? Is occupied in his mind. So I created space in his mind, and now he can steer in this space, which I didn't give a definition. I just gave him information that we are going to hike. But I didn't told him the date, and I didn't told him the time. So now he's carrying this space in his head, and he's steering it and finding out, when does he tell me the exact date and time when we are going actually to hike. I hope he's going to come in 3 hours to me and tell me that we're going to hike on that day. So he's occupied in this space, right? It's an open space. So seeking, finding, exploring. When does he come and tell me the date and the time? So I create space in his mind, and he's occupied in that space. Now, that's the example. I created space. Now, if I would tell him right up front the date and time, he would say, okay, thanks. Let me make you that example. He's asking me now, so I go to him and tell to that person, I say, okay, we are going to hike this Friday at 3 o'clock. The response will be, okay, great, nice. It's done. There is no space. The gap is closed. The space is closed because I gave him a date and a time. So I didn't project a space in his mind. He has a date and a time fixed, established, finished. And so he is not occupied in that space no more, because he has now the date, the information of date and time, and it's set. So there is no space creation where he's occupied in it. So I hope you saw in these two examples how we create space, and we create a lot of space unaware while we're having conversations and dialogues with one another, with your friends, with family, with your co-workers, and with other people. So what I'm telling you is, don't leave another person in space, because to leave another person in space, it arises a lot of questions, because that space I sent to that other person without any information, he's trapped. That person is trapped in that space, and now that person is occupied in that space and finding out why, if, when, exploring, right? Because there is no data, no information about it. And if you listen carefully when you have in your daily life your conversations with people, and you say only a thing without any information, without any data, you put that other person in lost in space. I think it's even a movie title, right? It's interesting. Lost in space. Because that space you have created in his mind, and he's occupied the whole time. Why is it like this? How come? If, and so he's exploring it and trying to find things out. But if I would say in the previous example I just gave to you is when I would say, okay, we go hiking on Friday, 3 o'clock, there's no space in his mind to figuring things out, to steering in that space. Why he didn't told me the time, why he didn't told me on what day we gonna go, how come, if is he gonna come later and tell me later the exact date and time. All this questioning and speculation and conclusion is in space. But if I give him a time and date, it's done. It's a fixed thing. There's no space between. It's done. It's an established thing. And I think that's how we should communicate much, much more. You know, like, not if you start something, finish it completely. Not half and let the other person lost in space. You know, because that's not fair, you know. So I hope you guys understood what I meant by this different kind and form of space that occurs in our language by conversations and dialogues and when we speak to one another, that we create a lot of space and the other person is lost in that space because it has no established informations about it. So we shouldn't say anything and involve and include other persons into it if you don't give a complete information about the whole thing, which there's no space. Because space, if you put space in someone's mind, that person is occupied in that space with conclusions, with theories, with why is it like that, how come, what if, and all that. And we shouldn't put that person in that status of mind in that, because it's actually like a, well, anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you saw what I'm trying to explain by that. There's a different kind of space that is involved when we speak to one another in conversations and dialogue, besides the space we know from space between objects, between the chalkboard and me is space. There is space between the glasses and me. There's a space between the pen and me, the distance space, and we have then the outer space with NASA and astronauts. They're going in the outer space, they're exploring the space, finding out, discovering space, and we have space also in our inner mind. So I hope I've showed you what kind of another kind of space exists in our conversations and dialogues. Thank you for watching.